So it's finally been announced Frank Lampard is the new manager of Chelsea, and this sweeps in a whole new wave of all sorts of things. We're going to dive into all of that. We're probably the happiest Chelsea fan of them all.
Yeah, well, we're all pretty happy. Anyone normal, a proper Chelsea fan here is over the moon at this. This is such good news. We'll have to go and get some champagne or something, because this is what we've been dreaming of.
Well, that was going to be my first question. So initial thoughts on the fact that Frank Lampard, who is pretty much known as the greatest Chelsea player of all time.
Absolutely, he is the greatest
is
player.
Now your manager. What are your initial thoughts and feelings on that fact?
It's actually very difficult to put it into words. This is what we've been hoping for such a long time, and it's actually made the horrendous season that we had last year, getting battered at Bournemouth, getting turned over for 6 by Man City, not beating any team away from home in the top 10. It's made it all more palatable, because I would take all of that if it meant getting somebody like Frank Lampard, and let's not forget Jody Morris, somebody who knows the club inside out and is going to be integral to our future aspirations. Getting those two in charge is just so brilliant for us.
Does it feel even better because of Jody Morris? Does that make it a stronger thing because of the experience and the relationship that he has with those players that you're going to have to trust in next season?
I think what you've got in Jody Morris is you've got somebody who, I think it's very easy, isn't it? You know, when people talk about footballers, and I think we dismiss people's careers. You kind of like, it would be quite easy to say, for example, we'll use a QPR example. You go, Kevin Gallen, useless. Are you mad? He's a fantastic footballer. He's a fantastic player. Maybe he didn't reach the heights of the Les Ferdinands, or whatever, but he's fantastic. Jody Morris, let's not underestimate how impressive it is to grow up in the shadow of Stamford Bridge. Grew up on North End Road, literally a stone's throw from the ground.
Yeah.
And he went on to play over 150 games for the club, including winning trophies for Chelsea, playing against Barcelona in the Nou Camp, he lined up for Chelsea. Pep Guardiola lined up for Barcelona. That's how good a player he was.
Do you know what I think as well in terms of life experience? I think Jody Morris probably has more of it than a lot of players do as well, because for people who don't know Jody Morris in his career, when he came on the scene, he was so exciting as a player.
Yeah.
And like you say, had a good career. But I think, did he play for St Johnstone? I know he was at
Leeds, Millwall, St Johnstone. Yeah, I mean, he
didn't really fulfil the potential that was seen in him at that early age.
No.
But with that comes the life experience of that, which helps you as a coach.
Absolutely. And you know what? You know the younger players at Chelsea who we could be heavily reliant upon this season? There isn't a better person in the world to guide them through the path of becoming a Chelsea first team regular than Jody Morris, who's done it. Like there's a documentary when Jody Morris was a kid where they followed the Chelsea YTS, it was called, the youth training system. They followed him around, and he was like it was him, it was Leon Knight, it was that sort of team. Wow. And he broke on to the scene, and you've got to remember the Chelsea team that he broke into. He was competing with very good footballers, but the likes of Gavin Peacock and Craig Burley and players like that. He was competing with them too. When I said very good players, by the way, I meant Gavin Peacock. Craig Burley was the disaster.
Scottish international.
Useless. But that's who Jody Morris was initially competing with to get in the team. But a couple of years later, he suddenly got a deal with Roberto Di Matteo, and it was a transition. And there was a time for Jody Morris when lining up, he had Frank Sinclair behind him, but Gianfranco Zola and Mark Hughes in front of him. It was a very weird time for Chelsea.
And I think the final thing on them as a pairing, which I think Chelsea fans can be excited about, is you've got Jody Morris and his career, both as a manager with the Chelsea Academy, but also as a player himself and the ups and downs that he had. But then you've also got Frank Lampard, who came on the scene at West Ham and had an incredible amount of pressure to make it, not only from the talent that he showed as a youth team player. I think he was captain in West Ham's under 18s at like 16.
Yeah,
but also the pressure of being his dad's son.
Exactly.
And what came with that, and he was able to do that and get the best out of himself as a player. So moving into this season and the squad that looks like you're going to have, those two, both sides of it, it feels like you've got it.
You're absolutely right. Frank Lampard, in terms of dealing with the pressure, has had to do it all his life. There was so much expectation on him at West Ham. West Ham fans were, and still are, incredibly harsh to him. They really don't like him. They don't have any respect for the phenomenal career that he had. I'm sure that he doesn't lose any sleep at night over that. But no man is better poised to deal with the pressure of this job. There's a microcosm. There's one example that I can just give that demonstrates quite how brilliant a man Frank Lampard is and how good he is at dealing with pressure. We played West Ham away at the old stadium, when it was really intense. Biggest game for him. The entire ground is on him. He had to take a penalty 3 times. Can you remember?
No.
He took a penalty, scored it. The ref went, no, encroachment. All the West Ham fans get up, they're above us. I was in the away end that day. It was right in front of us. They're above us. They're to the right of us. They're going mad. Steps up again, bangs it in. The ref goes, no, got to take it again. Lampard's thinking, oh my, law of averages. The keeper's going to nick one here. Does it again, pings it in again. That is phenomenal. I haven't even had to talk about what he did when we won the European Cup or whatever. He really is the man for this job. One
thing I would say is that people are probably screaming at us right now going, you're just talking about 2 people's playing careers instead of their management. I'll give you 2 sides of it here. Mm-hmm. As much as there's so much goodwill and excitement for Frank Lampard because he is a hero.
Oh yes, he is.
There has to be concerns as well. So the good thing I will say about Frank Lampard, and again talking about pressure, he stepped into that Derby job and there was huge pressure on him and that squad for 2 reasons. 1, because it's Frank Lampard. 2, because this was a Derby team and squad that keeps getting in the playoffs, but hadn't really done much about it. They did get to the playoff final. The thing I would say, in terms of playing devil's advocate with this, is he got a point less than Gary Rowett the season before. So although he did a good job, he did a fine job, that job alone is not worthy of managing Chelsea football.
No, the job that he's done at Derby does not get you the Chelsea job, naturally. Winning the European Cup at Porto gets you the Chelsea job. The man has got the Chelsea job. We've played the man, and rightly so. And just to alleviate any fears, if there's any Chelsea fans watching this slightly concerned about Frank Lampard, of course there's a worry. There is with any appointment. We appointed Felipe Scolari, who was a World Cup winner, the best it could be. And look what happened. One of the worst managers we've had in the Roman Abramovich era.
Yeah.
Well, so there's natural concerns throughout.
And actually, you're trading in a manager who, on paper, is 5 times the manager of Frank Lampard, and he's gone to a bigger club.
No, you're not. Who?
Sorry.
You mad?
Sarri's. If you write down on paper, Sarri's managerial career due to
Sarri's won his first trophy and as a pensioner. Frank Lampard will win more trophies than Sarri. By the time Frank Lampard is 60, his managerial career will be far more impressive.
Quite possibly, but you're guessing at that. That's not written down on paper. I'm saying written down on paper.
He's won 1 trophy, and Chelsea. He needed Chelsea to win it for him.
He's been a manager for a hell of a long time, which in itself is an achievement. And he's gone. We've had this conversation before. But the point is, you've got to give me that. Is that just due to the fact that he's been around for so long and the clubs that he's managed, and he's now gone on, and actually a club the size of Juventus has gone, here's 5 million quid so we can have your manager. You're, again, all on paper, and I'm not saying that these decisions aren't always made on paper, and this one for me isn't. That doesn't mean it's a bad one, but that is an interesting talking point, that you've got this guy so much experience, and yet there was such a feeling around him, and now you're bringing in a guy who's had 1 season.
Yeah, look, we would have brought Frank Lampard in even without the season.
And you're certain he's going to be brilliant.
We have some experience in this as Chelsea fans. Our manager that won our first trophy for 25 years. Chelsea went 25 years without a trophy. The man who guided us to our first trophy for that period of time was Ruud Gullit, who was in his first managerial role. Gianluca Vialli took over. Gianluca Vialli, his first managerial role, I think we won 5 trophies under Vialli. 5. Roberto Di Matteo, the greatest night in our club's history. Roberto Di Matteo was a manager.
So here's another new concern, which every single football fan will have when their hero becomes the manager, is how long do these things last as well? Because Gullit didn't last that long. Vialli didn't last that long. Di Matteo didn't last that long. Frank Lampard, that's going to hurt if it doesn't work out.
All of those managerial appointments that you mentioned, they didn't last. There were some lasted a fair amount of time. But yeah, you're right. They didn't last as long as perhaps we hoped they would. But they were all very successful. They're all littered with silverware. Yes. Roberto Di Matteo won the European Cup. Everybody forgets he also won the FA Cup, which is a huge achievement in itself, in its own right.
Yes.
5 under Vialli, and Gullit, the first time that we won a trophy for 25 years. It's huge.
I get all this, but so the reason, this is what I'm getting to with
So
Frank Lampard.
what's your worry? Not worry, actually. That's not worry.
What I wonder is a concern for Chelsea fans is, like anything, when that guy comes in, you know how football management works. It often ends in quite a sad and nasty way. So, and with Chelsea, such a ruthless club at times, this is a decision that's very unlike Chelsea, because it's a big part of it, big portion of it is the intangibles. It's the heart and the understanding of Frank Lampard as a man more so than a manager.
It's also chosen for the fans. I think the match-going support have pretty much demanded this after last season. I think it's a bit of appeasement.
So with that in mind, does this wave in a new kind of outlook from Chelsea fans and Chelsea management, because it is a decision made with the heart over the head?
There's two reasons why it could be the sign of a slightly different approach from the club as a whole, and I mean the fans and the upper echelons of the decision makers. One is because it's Frank Lampard and therefore he deserves more time. The second one is there's a transfer ban.
Yeah,
so we can pretty much write the season off. It would be amazing if we make the top four. So every single
that's what I'm intrigued to know, is because when I look at that squad and look at what that starting team looks like it's going to be next season, and I've read that Lampard has wanted those assurances that I'm not truly going to be judged on this season.
Yeah, you can't judge him on this season. You can't. Yeah. Look, there'll be moments where you can. Of course, he's going to manage.
Will he actually be given that patience? Or will it get to October and you're playing back-to-back Champions League, then big games, and the squad's feeling thin? And do you really believe that
the fans 100% will give him the time? We've seen countless examples. Di Matteo was back to the end. Jose Mourinho was back to the end. Ruud Gullit was back to the end. Vialli back to the end. That will happen. The fans will sing for Frank Lampard until our dying day. That is a fact. He will be backed. I think the club have to back him because they didn't have a choice. He hasn't had a window. He's had no transfer window.
Yeah,
he's going to get one. He's going to have a threadbare squad. He's also going to have. We had one player really last season had a world-class season for us. And that was Eden Hazard, who's now playing the White of Madrid.
Yeah.
So our one mercurial, brilliant player that was so responsible for so many points that we managed to pick up, not only because of his own performances, but because if they're doubling up on him, hopefully it opens up space for Willie. He's such a presence.
Yeah.
He's not even there. So I think simply by the fact that we're not adding to the squad, we're losing our best player, of course he gets time. I think if we make top four, it will be somebody elsewhere needs to lose their job if Chelsea make top four this year.
What do you mean?
Well, if Chelsea finish above Arsenal and Manchester United, those clubs need to really look at themselves because our squad isn't going to be as good as theirs.
So final question then, with Frank Lampard in charge of
before
Chelsea,
we pop the champagne,
what do you want from this season? If I'm chatting to you at May and I can refer to this moment for the rest of this season,
trophy.
What do you want from Frank Lampard in his first season? I say, give me two. Give me what's acceptable, and what are you dreaming of?
I think acceptable is anything top six and a nice run in all the cups. The dream is top four and a trophy. I cannot wait. Do you know what's going to be amazing? We play Man United away really soon. I cannot wait. Wow. Imagine being in that away end at Manchester United. It's going to be 90 minutes of Super Frank.
I mean, that's the final thing. Man United fans have had to deal with the kind of ridicule of Solskjaer.
Yeah.
After the initial, oh great, he's here, he gets the club. But could you see the same? Because you've been quite harsh on Solskjaer.
I have.
You could be, the same thing could happen to you.
One crucial difference. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was Cardiff City's worst ever manager.
But he's also, oh jeez. But he's but you're also not judging Lampard for his lack of a CV.
No,
as a manager.
No, but a lack of CV is better than a bad CV.
Well, but then what's more important, experience or not having a failure?
The most important things as a manager for any club is understanding the club, understanding the fans, and feeling an emotional connection to the club. That is what you need as a manager to start with. Then it becomes nuances and skill and insightfulness and being daring and being innovative. All of that comes. But simply loving the club is very important. And finally, after a year of somebody who wasn't in love with the club, we finally have 2 men in charge who love the club.
Absolutely huge job for Frank Lampard, but probably the best time for him to get it. He might get a bit of time as well. So it's happened. Frank Lampard is the new manager of Chelsea. Rory's very happy. Are you a Chelsea fan? And if so, are you happy with this? I'd be amazed if you're not. Fans of other clubs, let us know. Who's a better manager, Lampard or Solskjaer? Let us know in the comments below.
I think we know that one.
If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe to Ball Street, and we'll see you soon.